We've been reporting today that National Cabinet has now been tasked with fixing the vaccine rollout. Are you optimistic that it will be able to do so and do so in a timely manner?
Yeah, well, it was an interesting move by the Prime Minister. I think we got a little bit more information in that press conference that we saw just over lunchtime that he delivered in Perth, where he made reference to a plan to talk with the states about establishing more mass vaccination centres. This is a little bit of a change of course. There were some of these centres planned in various states, but it did sound as if, from what the Prime Minister was saying, they may be exploring that as more of a sort of widespread option. So that's certainly something that could be, really benefit from the National Cabinet process in terms of setting up those mass vaccination centres, making sure the supply is there, getting things really moving along. Other than that, I'm really not quite sure what really can be achieved out of National Cabinet in terms of these issues that we're having with the vaccine rollout. It does seem in a way like rather a sort of convenient solution for the Prime Minister. Obviously he's trying to reset the agenda, and he's acknowledged that our vaccination program is pretty seriously off track. As to whether a National Cabinet process is going to be the solution to these problems, I'm not quite sure, but I guess if there's an urgency behind these matters, that is certainly welcome, because it does seem to date that urgency we've been continually told that there's sort of very little COVID in the country. The risks to us aren't great. We're not in a rush. Well, I think we really do need to be in a rush. So if this National Cabinet process can help in that regard, it's certainly welcome.
Yeah, and the experts I've been speaking with today, Natasha, all are saying that the biggest thing that National Cabinet needs to focus on first is really instilling confidence in the whole program, and in particular in the AstraZeneca vaccine. I know you've been reporting this week that people over the age of 50 have really had their confidence shaken in that AstraZeneca vaccine as well, with GPs reporting that patients have been cancelling their appointments.
Yeah, I'm not sure how widespread those cancellations are. The government's certainly been telling us it's pretty minimal, but there is certainly a concern that's being picked up in various forums from the over 50s that we now have this situation where people who are under 50 are prioritised for Pfizer, but they can also get AstraZeneca as well in consultation with their doctor should they choose, but the over 50s won't have that choice of vaccine available to them. And I think some people are rather perturbed about this. There's been a risk-benefit analysis that's been undertaken by the scientific advisors in terms of the risk of blood clots, but I think people are aware that 50 isn't a sort of magic number, that there have been a few cases of these blood clots in people aged over 50. Not many at all, so the risk is extremely remote to those people aged over 50. As John Skerritt reminded us yesterday, you've got far more chance of winning the lotto. But nevertheless, the over 50s are being asked to weigh up these risks and benefits in a different way to which people aged under 50 are. And I think that has concerned some people. Doctors, of course, are also reporting that they're seeing these concerns filter through to the consultation room, to the surgery, and they're not being recompensed for the time that they now have to spend with patients, giving them the information, reassuring them on that the risk really is so low compared to the benefit of the vaccine. But certainly that process is quite time-consuming, and they're only getting paid for, literally a 5-minute consultation, including delivering the vaccine. So that's raising all sorts of issues for the GP network as well.
And it's not just the AstraZeneca that is facing these issues with the blood clotting. We've seen the Johnson & Johnson pause of that vaccine in the US overnight as well. And again, it's really, really tiny numbers, but the US authorities have decided they needed to act.
Yeah, well, the issue here, I think, is that this is not a novel sort of situation they're seeing now. They're recognising the similarities with the AstraZeneca vaccine, and they're saying that they do believe that it's a similar sort of mechanism that is occurring. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, of course, is an adenovirus viral vector vaccine as well, which is the AstraZeneca vaccine is also that type of vaccine. So they do believe there's something about these types of vaccines which use an adenovirus, in the case of AstraZeneca, a chimpanzee virus, to deliver the genetic information that triggers the body to make the spike protein, which then generates the immune response. There's been a quite interesting report in New Scientist today, which is quoting one of the foremost scientists in the world studying these blood clotting conditions in Germany, who has referred to a study in mice which indicates that this antibody reaction that you're seeing in the AstraZeneca vaccine in these very, very few cases, and now it seems with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as well, might have something to do with the fact that these adenovirus vaccines carry DNA material, which can trigger the body to make antibodies that bind to this platelet factor, which then causes this clotting reaction in the body. So that's an interesting sort of theory from one of the world's leading scientists studying this condition there. So it does seem as if there's something about these adenovirus vaccines that are causing this exceedingly rare response in some people. But again, we don't know why, some people develop this condition. There don't seem to be, at least from what the European Medicines Agency told us in their investigation results last week, that they haven't been able to identify any risk factors that place some people at more, higher risk of developing this kind of syndrome than others. But certainly that's something that will be receiving quite intense scrutiny by the Food and Drug Administration in the US, and it will be interesting to see what course they take. Of course, they aren't relying too heavily on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is good news. The vast majority of people in America are receiving Pfizer or Moderna. So they're in a fortunate position in that regard as they continue to investigate this issue.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It seems like we're learning more and more almost every day. Natasha Robinson, the health editor at the Australian newspaper. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ash. Bye.